Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
Keep that energy going. It's 8:07, and your day's getting started the right way here on O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in and joining me, Larry O'Connor, and she, Julie Gunlock, and all her bananas. Now, and if you don't know that reference, it's because you don't listen to the whole show, and you should download our podcast everywhere you get podcasts. Coming up in 30 minutes, Congressman Andy Harris of Maryland, chair of the Freedom Caucus, will give us his perspective on the government funding crisis that could lead to a partial government shutdown at midnight tonight. That's coming up. Right now, though, Julie, let's welcome Jonathan Schanzer, Executive Director of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Mr. Schanzer, always good to speak with you. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
But I don't know what the biggest story is coming out of this meeting between Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump yesterday. The president's 20-point Gaza peace plan that involves the release of all hostages or remains of hostages, Hamas surrendering, disarming, getting out of the area, and then a new terror-free zone set up in Gaza and the rebuilding of Gaza. That's a big deal. But I was astounded by the coalition of Arab nations who immediately embraced this plan. That, I think, sort of could be the game changer here. Hamas is further isolated here from the rest of the Arab world, aren't they?
They are, and I think it was a good sort of jujitsu type of a move that just occurred. I mean, for the last couple of months, the pressure has been on Israel to just simply stop the war. What I think Donald Trump and Bibi were able to do yesterday was to basically say, look, stopping the war all makes sense, but here are the conditions. And now those conditions all hinge on Hamas doing the right thing. And the Arab world, you're absolutely right. You see all these countries signing on. What I think is really interesting is, the Israelis, they carried out that attack a couple of weeks ago on an apartment filled with Hamas guys in Doha, in Qatar. And I think they took a lot of heat for it. There was a lot of criticism. But I will just tell you this. Everybody that I've talked to in the Arabian Gulf, they're all saying the same thing. We don't want the war coming to us. We want this thing over. The fact that it encroached upon the Persian Gulf made them very nervous, and they want this war to end. And so even though Israel may have missed its mark when they were targeting those Hamas guys, I think the end result has actually been quite positive.
This all, of course, hinges on Hamas actually agreeing to this. Who's talking to Hamas, and who is it in Hamas who's doing this negotiating?
Well, that's the kind of the really interesting question. It's apparently some of those guys that Israel tried to hit a couple of weeks ago, and we know that there are a couple of names out there that, we think these individuals survived. We've not yet seen them. They've not actually shown proof of life. Only one guy has come out and shown his face since that purportedly failed attack. But they're the ones who are doing, I guess, most of the discussing. There's a couple of leaders on the ground in Gaza, but we're not even sure if they're in contact with the political figures in Doha. The Qataris are big here. The Turks are big here. I think the Iranians are looming in the background. But that's really the big challenge, if you ask me. Trying to get all of these actors, you got the Qataris, the Turks, the Iranians, Hamas, and Israel, all to agree to the same ceasefire. That seems like the big lift here, and we'll find out in the next couple of days whether Donald Trump prevails.
And if Hamas decides that they're just going to go down with their arms, with their hostages, they're going to keep fighting, is it finally time? Does Prime Minister Netanyahu, after this extraordinary plan and the agreement or support of the Arab world, does he now finally have the green light to just sort of finish this? If they don't accept this, they have to be destroyed. That's the only way you reach an end to this. Hamas has got to be destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, look, that is the green light that I think Trump gave him. I think Trump, by the way, probably gave him the same green light months ago. But I think the difference is that Israel wasn't faced with this just onslaught of international condemnation. What I think, again, Trump has done is it's a bit of a jujitsu, kind of a wrestling move here where the center of gravity has shifted, whereas Israel was taking a lot of heat for not ending the war, for not just finishing things off. What Trump has done is said, look, this is a very reasonable way to end this war. everybody, walks away with their pride intact, maybe with the exception of Hamas. But even then, they're not crushed on the battlefield. They're basically saying we're going to leave to allow Gaza to be rebuilt. This all makes a lot of sense. I'm glad to see that Netanyahu and Trump have gotten to this point. But yeah, I think we've got a lot of concerns. If Hamas decides it's martyrdom time, then yeah, what we're looking at is a brutal war that will end in just the crushing of whatever is left of Gaza.
Well, and of course, Jonathan Schanzer is our guest, executive director of Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Mr. Schanzer, if that happens, and I think everybody prays it doesn't, but Hamas is not reasonable. They're not rational. They do have a martyr complex. As they often remind the world, they love death more than we love life. So given that, what happens with Western nations like the United Kingdom and France and Canada and other, Belgium and the EU, who are all terrified of the people waving Palestinian flags in their streets that they've allowed into their country without any sort of control or regulation? If Hamas goes down in that bloody fight, these countries are suddenly going to take their side in all of this. They already have taken their side in all of this, which is unthinkable in a post-October 7th world.
It is unthinkable, and yet this is exactly what's happened. And you see it's the Brits, but it's also the Australians, the Canadians, the French. Portugal. Spain has been, very vocal. Ireland. It's really remarkable. Yeah, all of it is sort of bizarre, right? to see these guys choose the side essentially of Hamas. Now, they're not saying that they're choosing the side of Hamas. They're just saying no more war. But it's pretty easy to say that from the cheap seats, right? These European countries don't have a terrorist organization on their border that killed 1,200 people, and the Israelis, of course, too. And the Israelis have to make tough choices. And I think what you heard from Netanyahu at the UN the other day is that he is not going to cower in the face of this challenge, that Israeli security will actually prevail over the diplomatic concerns that are stemming from this onslaught that Israel has been getting from the Western countries. But I do think Trump has given him a little bit of cover. Netanyahu now has a little bit more cover. That doesn't mean that he has a complete green light to do whatever he wants in Gaza. But I think now people are going to be pointing the finger at Hamas rather than Israel for being the obstacle here. And I do think that diplomatically, that actually helps the Israelis. It doesn't solve for everything, but it definitely gives them a little bit more breathing room right now after a pretty rough couple of months.
I think we got to leave it there, but thank you for that informed explanation as to where things stand right now. And I guess we, along with the rest of the world, will wait and see. But sadly, I don't know if our expectations are very high for Hamas, considering who they are and what their track record is.
No, you're right to be realistic. You're right to be realistic.
Yeah. Who was it that said they never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity?
Yeah, that was Abba Eban, the former ambassador to the UN. That's what he said about the Palestinians, and boys, it still hold today.